and to receive the healing that's already within you. So anyway, we've been providing volunteering complimentary 15-minute sessions to those frontline workers and those that are affected by COVID. So if you know folks that are in that situation that could use some support, please connect them to us. I believe Niyah already put the link in the chat on how you can sign up for that service. Or if you want some distant ranking for yourself, because you're going through some stuff, you know. It was not complimentary if you're not a frontline worker, but a special COVID rate, we're just doing $1 a minute. And so and you can set
which is 50% off of the typical price. Mm-hmm.
So we're just here looking to figure this thing out along with everyone else. You know, we're talking about healing from the heart. And many of the folks we're talking to, their hearts are being broken by what they're experiencing, right? That most of the feelings that people experience are fear and anxiety. There's obviously many other feelings besides those two, but that's the primary feeling that I'm running into with people that I've been dealing with.
Yeah, and so to just reinforce that point, whereas we are offering complimentary service to frontline workers, really Reiki is for everyone, because it's an opportunity to relax, to connect who you are. And any of you who have experienced Reiki know you come out of the session feeling much more at peace.
Yeah, relaxed.
That's more relaxed, much more centered. And so it's available to anybody. So check that out. Certainly during these times where it's a lot to be emotional, concerned, and potentially stressed about.
I don't know if you're in the house with somebody, but there's some stress here between us. We got to figure out how to work through it, because ain't nobody can just get up and leave. So we got to work through it. So, you know, stress can look a whole lot of ways, right?
Yeah, and in the middle of a, let's say, a courageous conversation, I gotta say, I need you to switch gears and give me some Reiki so we can finish this conversation. Or else it's not gonna be all good up in here. We don't got no place to go. So we gotta work it through.
All right.
Okay, Mark.
We want to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to say it, right?
No.
Yeah. So we know that today is in many in the Christian faith, it's a thing that we call Palm Sunday, right? Palm. And I remember there's a song that, you know, the church that I went to, Morgan Park Pentecostal Church, and you know, I don't know if it would be the end of the service or the middle service. I don't know, but at some point you'd be walking back from the offering, and the back pews are just full of these palms. There ain't no palm trees in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. Yeah, I still don't know where they got the palms from to this day, but they'd be full of palms. And then the ushers would start coming down the aisle and passing the palms out. And you know, the kids, we was slick. We'd have found a way to run your fingernail up the palm and split it 2 or 3 ways. So you got to do a real, like you look like you got a treat. You try to get an extra stick from somebody else. And they sing the song, Palms of Victory. Palms, I'm probably not going to sing it exactly right, but that's how it generally was the gist of it. And so we want to just recognize those that aren't in the church today to be able to wear their palms and sing palms of victory and palms of glory. And also, you know, what is Palm Sunday, right? And so for those who may not know, Palm Sunday is it's credited with being the start of the Holy Week, right? And so the story has it, and I think if you want to refer to it in your Bible, I think it's Matthew 21, I think is where it is. 21, it talks about, you know, Jesus was riding on this donkey. Now, I don't know why he picked a donkey other than that there was a prophecy about him riding on the donkey or something, but he ride on the donkey. So I can just imagine, you know, because the donkey ain't that smooth, you know, riding on the donkey, and the people, they're excited. They're like, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And they started laying palms down on because they had palms in the Mediterranean, that part of the country. They started laying palms down. They started taking off their cloaks and putting their cloaks down. And it was a sign of a royal treatment, right? And now he's on his way to Jerusalem because Thursday, they about to take him hostage. And then Friday, they're about to crucify him. And so, which is known as Good Friday. And then we know Resurrection Sunday is known as the following Sunday. So that's what Palm Sunday is.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. What's next?
What's next? What is next? Are we ready to jump into our topic?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, once again, if you're just here for the first time, We welcome you to participate. You can chat, right? You can put your comments in the chat, questions in the chat. If I said something wrong about the Palm Sunday, please feel free to add the corrective information in there. I'm just wondering, this is by show of hands, anybody had the opportunity to wave a palm in the church?
Ever?
Ever? Okay, I see you, Sharp. Nobody else? Oh, man, got to bring y'all to a Pentecostal church on the Palm Sunday, baby. Yeah, and you get a little bit of oil on your hair before you go out. My mom is up there laughing. She can't, I don't know if she can hear us or not, but Mom, you can also call in from your phone to get audio if you can't get audio through your system. So anyway, I want to talk about healing from the heart, right? Healing from the heart. Now, Mark, why do you want to talk about healing from the heart?
Why do you want to talk about healing from the heart?
Thank you. Because the heart is actually where the healing takes place. Now, folks will say all sorts of things around what the heart is and the role of the heart. You know, the heart is down here, the brain up here is the most important organ, right? I'll just tell you this. From a biblical standpoint, the heart is mentioned thousands of times in the Bible. Thousands of times, not hundreds, but thousands of times in the Bible. You can Google university and find out the exact number of thousands, but thousands of times in the Bible. And I have it in my notes here. I'll get to it at some point. The other thing is, the heart is what connects the emotions and stuff to our brain. So we want to talk a little bit about the heart, right? So, and the reason that I thought about this topic, I believe God brought it to me, was I heard a quote the other day that says, "Black men don't have the luxury of a long life." And I said, what? And they said it again. They said, "Black men don't have the luxury of a long life." Now, what if we could reverse that? What if that really weren't true? And not just black men, but black people, black women, not just black people, but people in general. What if we could actually reverse that? And I went to prayer. I said, God, give me a word for how we can speak to the people to help support with healing from the heart. So just from a biblical standpoint, the connection is, you know, it's so many scriptures, but I'm going to give you a couple. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flows the springs of life." Right? Keep your heart with all vigilance, from it flows the springs of life. Okay. Now, another thing is that science has said that when the heart is in a good space, right, that the heart then creates antibodies in your body, right? Now, I'm not going to give you a whole science lesson here, right, around what antibodies are, but I just, you know, I'll break it down in a real basic term. Antibodies are those things that be in there fighting the things, the antigens, and the antigens are the things that want to break you sick and bring you down. The antibodies are like, no, not today. They get the white cells and they jump out and they go to war. And that thing, that antigen, they get rid of it. So when your body creates antibodies, that's the thing that fixes the viruses and things of that nature, right? And virus is I'm using a generic term, not unique to COVID, right? So here. So now, let me give you one more scripture, because I know some of y'all are like, wait, Mark, you're making this up. You're making this up. Okay, so I read to you from the Hebrew Bible, and let me read to you from the New Testament. It says in 3 John 1, chapter 1, verses 2, "Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you, and that you may be in good health, just as it is well with your soul." So let me just give you some fun facts about the heart. You know, we don't just talk about the Bible. We talk about the Bible. We talk about God. We talk about life, an integrated life approach. So it's a lot of. I'm not going to give you all of them, but I'm going to give you some. And if you hear one that speaks to you, just type it in the chat or ask me to repeat it. Right. So look. First of all, physically, they say the heart is contained on the left side of your body in this cavity area, like right under your left chest. You know, I got a big chest muscle. I don't know, because I've been in the gym. The Lord forgive me for not telling the truth right now. I wish I had a big chest muscle that my heart was behind. But this heart is about the size of your fist. So you make a fist, right? That's what they say. Hold your fist up and you can look. This is about the size of your heart. Whoever you are individually, that heart is unique to you, right? Now that's what they say physically, right? Physically. Now let me tell you about how bad this heart is. This heart, so if you imagine you just doing this with your fist, right? Your heart pumping, it does this 115 115,000 times a day. 115,000 times a day. And while it's doing this, it's got blood flowing through you, right? And so, we people like drink a gallon of water. They be like, oh man, I can't barely drink a quart of water. It pumps 2,000 gallons of blood a day through your body. Now, come on now. Now, they got this thing. They say there's electrical systems that control the rhythm of your heart, right? So that it keeps it just pumping right. And they call that the cardiac construction system. Yeah. So now, come on now. Now, the first open heart surgery, let's give y'all a little black history, even though it ain't February, was 1893, and it was performed by a black man. Who?
A black man.
A black man. Daniel Hale Williams, right? The first, one of the few black cardiologists in the United States at that time, as a matter of fact. Let me ask, what else to say? There was a pacemaker. The first pacemaker was implanted in somebody in 1958. Now, check this out. The person who received the pacemaker name was Arnie Larson, right? And they lived longer than the surgeon who put it in them. They lived into 86 years old. And they just died of a disease that was unrelated to the heart. Fix the heart, fix your body, right? Okay, most heart attacks happen on a Monday. Yeah.
People don't want to go to work?
I guess not. Woo! Christmas Day is the most common day of the year for heart attacks. Woo! Now, why am I talking about heart? Because I want you to understand the role of the heart in healing. Okay. Now, look. Now, we ain't going to get into the weight of the heart, men are bigger than women and all that, but we'll just say that the women's heart is a little bit lighter than the man's heart, right, physically. But a woman's heart beats faster. Woo! That's why she loves so hard, y'all. That's why she loves so hard. A woman's heart beats faster. What else? What else we going to say here? Okay.
Heart disease is one of the #1 killers for women.
Yeah, but that's not one of my facts that I'm sharing. But they do say
it's
that.
It's important to know.
But here, speaking of that, it is possible to have a broken heart. Now, people that I found that this one is really powerful. It is possible to have a broken heart. It's called broken heart syndrome. Now, y'all, I ain't making this up. You Google it on your own. We'll put a link. I don't have a link here, but you can Google fun facts about the heart. It's a study that was done, a medical study that was done. Now, this broken heart syndrome can have similar symptoms as a heart attack. The difference is the heart attack comes from a heart disease, but the broken heart syndrome is caused by a rush of stress hormones from an emotional or physical stress event. And so that's why I want to stop right there. It's many more, but that's why. But the broken heart syndrome is caused by a rush of stress hormones from an emotional or physical stress event.
That's why I personally believe that so many women and so many women of color die from heart disease. It is that broken heart. It is that stress. It is that got to do everything for everybody all the time and never take care of myself, that eventually the heart says, I can't do no more.
Right. Now, we talked about the physical heart is pumping 115,000 times, the 2,000 gallons. Now, science will, man will tell you that the heart is the size of your fist. However, I think there's a heart that supersedes the physical heart. And it just, and as I allow it to, it just expands and it expands and it expands. And so the heart really can't be measured in size. I can open my arms as much as I am allowing it to grow, it will. Right now, here's the thing. Here's what I would do. So let me make connections with this. Right. So addressing our emotions is what creates the healing energy. Right. When we talk about a broken heart, they have some emotions. Now, I don't know about you, and I don't know about you, but addressing my emotions is the last thing that was on my mind that I wanted to do. The way I grew up in Chicago, South Side Chicago, on the southeast side, wasn't no place for emotions on the street. You put your emotions in your pocket, right? Wipe your tears, and get going with it. So many phrases, right? Ain't no time for emotion. Emotions get you effed up, is what they would say out there in the street. And so emotions are important, right? Now, what I learned how to do, at least I thought I learned how to do, was run from my emotions. Right? And so I had to ask the question, can I outrun my emotions? Can I outrun my emotions? And I tell you, I got 40 years of running experience. And with over 40 years of running experience, here's what I know. No matter how, I mean, if I was like Usain Bolt, had world record speed, I can't outrun my emotions because they right there within me wherever I go. Right? That's perfect. That's right there within me wherever I go. And so I can't outrun my emotions, and neither can you. I can't hide. I can't run because wherever I run, wherever I hide, I'm right here with me. And so really the key is to acknowledge these emotions, right? As I acknowledge these emotions and to face them courageously, then I can get on the other side of them, right? And as I'm willing to face the emotions, then I'm changing the emotional impact in the heart, because the mind and the brain, the heart and the brain, they connected, and they say, hey, you know, we got some emotions we want to deal with, right? And then it's causing some stress in the heart, and the heart ain't putting out antibodies. And so these antigens that we talked about earlier, these negative things that come, these get to attack our body, right? So we want to heal, and the healing starts from within. I guarantee you, the healing starts from within. So what else? What else we want to do with this? So I got a lot of science. I'm not going to give you all of this science, right? I got so pumped up with this. We might just publish this. We might just publish this in the blog on that, because I think it's some important stuff here. But look, let me talk about stress, because I want to make sure y'all bring this home. We bring this home. Now, most of it, that I got to look at this word because this is a pretty big one. Psychoneuroimmunology research suggests that stress causes a chain reaction of biological responses. A chain reaction of biological response. So you got the hypothalamus, pituitary glands, the adrenal glands, and they play a major role in the release of substances often referred to as stress hormones. And these toxins, right, then jump into, look at somebody on there, somebody know what it is. These toxins jump into your body, and then the good stuff that's trying to go through your body can't go through your body because these toxins taking up all the space. So we got to deal with the stress that has us, that's created with the emotions. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna jump right to the I plus A equals R. Let me give them that. That's what my spirit is taking me right now. So here's what we do. I'm gonna give you a way to deal with some of this stress and emotion, right? And so you can do it along with me, and I'm gonna visualize what it is, right? And so I want to give you a tip that you can go apply to your body. Thank you, Noreen. That you can apply to your body and apply today to have some things be different in your body today. Are y'all okay with that? Okay, I see at least one hand nodding next to me, and Clancy gave me the thumbs up. Okay, so we're going to talk about this technique is called EFT. It's called EFT, right? And so the first part of this is getting in touch with what the emotion is, right? And so you figured out what it is for you, and I'll talk you through what it is for me. So I have a fear of people dying, right? That people will leave me and I'll be alone. You know, I worry about it with my family members, with my mother. I worry about it with my friends, and when something around death creates a fear of me just being alone. Right. Now, if I really dig down into this whole fear of leaving, I'm clear that I can trace it all the way back to when I was about 6. And I was at my father's house visiting. This was before he moved to Africa with with 3 of my siblings, and we all little kids, 5, 6, something like that. And it was time for me to go home. And I threw the biggest fit. I threw the biggest fit because I did not want to leave. I do not like to leave, and I don't like people to leave me. To this day, my wife would be like, why we got to be the last ones at the party? You know, so I don't like to leave. I got an anxiety around leaving, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about. That's the emotion, and I want you to look to connect with it on yourself. Not this real general thing. I got anxiety, I got fear. But what is it that you have some anxiety or fear about? So in that example, that's what mine is. And so you just do this along with me. You're going to take one of your hands, like you're going to do a karate chop, that part. You're just going to tap that with the index finger and the finger next to it. It's going to tap that, right? And so in my case, we talk about my fears around leaving, people leaving me, right, and dying, and me being left alone. So I'm going to acknowledge what that feeling is. So I've got a fear about people leaving me and dying and me being left alone. I deeply and wholly accept myself. Now I'm going to repeat that 2 more times, and you can, whatever it is for you want to do, go ahead. I've got a fear about people leaving me and dying, and me being left alone. I deeply and completely accept myself. I've got a fear around people leaving me and dying and me being left alone. And I deeply and completely accept myself. Now you're going to move and we're going to tap 7 other points as you just say a short phrase. And my short phrase is going to be, I've got a fear about people dying. I've got a fear, you tap between your eyes, right on your forehead. A fear about people dying, and I completely and deeply accept myself. Now you're going to move around to the side of your eye. I've got a fear about people dying, and I deeply and completely accept myself. Now you're going to tap under the eye. I've got a fear about people dying, and I deeply and completely accept myself. Now move right under the nose or the top of the lip. I've got a fear about people dying, and I deeply and completely accept myself. Now right under the lip, right under the chin, on top of the chin, I've got a fear about people dying, and I deeply and completely accept myself. Now right over between the collarbone, that little hollow spot on the left and right side, I've got a fear about people dying, and I deeply and completely accept myself. The last point, right under your armpit, where your bra strap, where I go if you want a bra, I got a fear about people dying, and I deeply and completely accept myself. And so that's an example of something that you can do when you get off the call. And you want to dig, you want to be as specific as possible what this thing is. You want to trace it down to its roots. And what I found in doing that is that the fear that I had about when my grandmother dying, then that just happened. Whenever anybody else around me close starts to think about dying, my little brother Michael Beasley died a few years ago. I felt like it's had me spinning out. And I know that because I didn't want to deal with the emotion. And healing comes from the heart. But my heart didn't get a chance to heal because I kept running from the emotion. And so what EFT allows you to just really acknowledge it, accept yourself without judgment around it means anything good or bad. And then I noticed that the next time I think about them, the sting of that emotion is a little bit less. And you can do this with any emotion that you want, right? And this is just one way to support yourself in your heart healing. So, why don't I pause? I feel like I've been talking for a minute. Why don't I pause? Now you have some thoughts, or just help me out?
So we're curious what your thoughts are. Mark covered a lot of material, and we just did an emotional freedom technique. Thank you, Lamont, for putting that in the chat. And so we've introduced to some a new modality, to others it may be a reminder. And so healing from the heart, we want to hear from you. We've done a lot of talking today. And so come off mute and just share whatever is on your heart.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So what you talked about just totally resonated with me in this time, right? And I had in terms of how stress, and even when you don't think that you're necessarily stressed, how it impacts so much and all these things, you put a lot of the language to it, but it is so important to have techniques in order to be able to relieve that. How did I recognize that I went outside and I was like, oh, I'm not going to freak out about it. Went out, went to the store, like all of us went out. I got back in the car, and then I had a physical release. I was like, and then I was like, oh, my body was so tight. Like, I didn't even recognize how I was tight. I thought I was okay and all of that. And so I can imagine that you're talking about all these little micro things that are happening when you are stressed. And so the awareness of that you brought to the table is so important. And then techniques in order to be able to relieve that and to do some of this even proactively or just as you're going through your day, because even the ones that are quote unquote strong, we need to be able to really understand that there's some things there and deep and look in there for me. And so for me, admitting that I'm scared and that there's some things that are out of my control and releasing can allow me to move without this tightness that I know that it's impacting me physically. So thanks for today and some of the things.
Absolutely,
Lamar,
absolutely.
I had a question. Lamar, what's your question? You want to come off the speaker and ask me, because I'm not sure which points you're referring to.
Oh no, I wanted like the 5 I wanted to know exactly what those points were again so I can write them.
Oh, for the EFT?
I didn't catch. I followed you, but I was following and not
Yeah,
remembering.
that's fine. You know, I say that, you know, that's part of, we incorporated this into some of our Reiki sessions as well, because I found it to be, look, when I first got introduced to this, man, over 10 years ago, I ran from it. I did not want to deal with my emotions. And I found that there was no progress because I wasn't dealing with my emotions. And this is one of the things I embrace to help along with the Reiki, because so the Reiki removes the energies that are blocking, but then to get to a point where you're like, oh, I don't want to be able to go past there, right? And so the EFT is something that can support you. But the 7 points are, you start off with the karate chop part of your hand, and you say that statement 3 times, whatever that statement that really digs deep, and they call that, you know, the setup statement. So mine was, you know, I talked about my grandmother dying, and then we have a fear of dying being connected to, I don't like to be left, right? And that's really what was the feeling of being left, right? So that's the setup statement. You say that 3 times while you're chopping here on your karate chop piece. Then after that, you call it just a reminder statement, because you're just looking to move through. So I don't need to go through all of that. I got a fear of being left. And so the first point is right here between your eyes, on your head, with your 2, and using the index finger and the second finger right here between your eyes, right? The next point is on the side of your eye, right or left side, doesn't make a difference, right? And then under that eye, right or left, it doesn't make a difference, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, right? 4 is right here under your nose, between the top of your lip, and you continue to use these 2 fingers. 5 is right here between your chin and your, I guess, the bottom row of your teeth. Right there, okay? And then 6, if you think about your collarbone, like I said, I don't know if you can see it because I was getting fingers, well, you're not going to see it. So your collarbone, you know, so if you put your fingers straight, it's a hollow point, then you put them out to the right, you got like a little gap. And if you come down under that little knot, there's a little hollow space, and it's both on the right and the left side. So whichever one works for you. I'm right-handed, so I usually just tap. So me, it's that hollow point under your collarbone. That's 6. And then if you imagine your arm being lifted up, many men don't wear bras, but if you did wear a bra, but you may be familiar with where a bra strap goes on a lady. Where the bra strap goes, like under the arm. I know it's some kids listening. You tap there and as Nikki, I think said in the comments, don't forget to breathe while you're doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Thoughts, comments, questions? Come off mute. Let us hear from you.
So, Mark, this is Derek. Hey, how you all doing? So it's basically, it's basically just working yourself down with those. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and under.
Right.
So you're working your way down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You could do it as many times as you want to continue unpeeling the emotions as you might think into something. Because the more specific, I mean, there's 3 things that's important with EFT. You remember what they are, Nate? Be specific is the 1.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2 is be specific. Number 3 is be specific. So specificity. That one too. Yeah, is important with EFT. Because like generalizations, it's just kind of like in life. Like that's, you know, Derek, you know, I'm not gonna put you on spot. Let me just choose myself. You know what I'm saying? I know I done something to really agitate my relationship with Naomi. And I just be like, hey baby, I'm sorry. She's like, okay, in her mind, sometimes out of her mouth, she might be like, well, what you sorry for? Like speaking, I don't want to say I'm sorry because I didn't call, and I told you I was going to call, and then I told you I texted you later on after not calling, and then I said I'd be there at a certain time, and not only did I didn't get there at a certain, I didn't call to tell you I wasn't going to get there, like, but the specificity is, what is it? Specificity, I done made a word. The specificness of that acknowledgement is what works. Versus be like, I'm sorry. So the same thing with EFT. The more specific you can be, so just to say I got fear or I got anxiety, you want to really dig down into it.
So example for me. So what you want to do is check in about where you are in your body before you start the EFT process, and then check in where you are in your body afterwards, right?
And give it a scale.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we went through this the other day, and I had picked a topic, and we had gone through. I'm clear.
Okay.
And you know, and so we went through the EFT process, and at the end, I was more stressed out than when I started, right? So it was a memory from our relationship, and clearly I had not let go of it, okay? And one round of EFT wasn't gonna get it, right? I was actually more agitated than when I started. But what I learned from that, back to this, be specific, be specific, be specific, that what I thought was causing the angst wasn't it. I had to go deeper as to what really even caused angst in that situation. So it forced me to really unpeel my emotions, go back further in my history on why that event that I associated with us was triggered because of some stuff that had happened much longer that had nothing to do with him in my childhood. And so any incident that comes up that's similar to that, it brings that up. And it wasn't until I kind of was willing to go back and deal with the source. What was the first time I had a situation that had me feel that way? And then when I used that as my example and then went through the EFT process, completely different at the end. So that's just what he means by being specific and willing to really go there with the emotions, which can be challenged and uncomfortable, but on the other end, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts and questions?
She said, true preachers make up words. I thought I saw another question, but I missed it in the chat because I was looking. But you can just come off the mute, and if you have a comment or thought, just say, hi, Crystal with a K.
Okay. Anything off topic? You know, this is your space too. So it's been 2 weeks since we've been here. So is there anything that anybody just wants to share, or just it's a sacred and safe space? So I want to create a forum for that.
So I wanted to add that there's times that you may not have the emotion, but you're in an environment where there's like heavy emotions, like the vibrations or the frequency is pretty heavy. Like I meditate, pray, and I may get around people and all of a sudden I start feeling edgy and I'm like, I don't even feel like this. There's nothing happening to me. But you have to think about, like, now we're in a time where you hear the news, you hear stuff, and you can even go places and you're all of a sudden feeling different. It's like really have an acknowledgement that there's something else happening, but to try to like medicate it or suppress it, it will just eventually overflow. And sometimes you may have to say to people, whoa, I'm getting a vibe. I'm feeling your anxiety. Is there something happening there? Is there something I can support you with? Because if not, you leave with it and you're like, why am I feeling edgy? Or why do I feel rushed? Or there's a difference in my emotions. And also emotions are like the weather. They come and go. Sometimes they're not going to stay with you forever. But sometimes it feels like that when you're in that situation.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Tavana. And, you talked about being around, particularly people that work with other people, whether they be in social support systems, schools, teachers, preachers, hospital workers. You're in an environment with a lot of people. Some folks tend to, like you say, they can feel that energy. And not only do they feel that energy, they take it on and they end up taking it home. So, and because of that, I'm actually working on the workshop we'll offer, which is going to be offered probably later this month. I have to get a date. It's like caring for others without impairing yourself, right? And people say they're empaths. They got different phrases that they've titled to that. No matter what phrase you call it, but caring for others without impairing yourself. And I think it's important, particularly, that we show people how to do that. And so, we'll share that with the list of folks here. But if you're interested, just reach out to me, and we can talk more about that. But the other thing that you said, Travada, is that it is important to be aware of what's coming up. Yeah, and I totally agree with that.
Another thing that has been a commonly shared experience during this time is just a sense of feeling tired and exhausted. And I know that has been my experience, and being somebody who's a doer and all of that, I'm like, I'm barely doing anything, right? I'm not using my brain and exercising all of the mental activity that I normally would. Physically, I'm not doing that much. why am I so tired, right? And it can be the situation.
Yeah.
And so it's what Nikki and Travati are talking about. It is that unconscious awareness that there is something going on. And a lot of that I would associate with the not knowing. It's this unconscious awareness that we have, this thing that we're sitting with, that we don't know what's next. There's a lot of things we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of open questions. And that doesn't always sit well in the body. So even if you're not physically and mentally active in the way that you previously have been, and yet are experiencing yourself more tired, then give yourself some grace, allow and acknowledge that it is stress, it is the emotions, it is this sense of things that are going on that we don't know, that we can't control. And so use these tools that we've shared today: meditation, prayer, exercise that works for you.
Something funny that gives you a good laugh.
Right.
Laugh. You heard phrase, laughter is good for the heart, all of that.
Comedy, anything that makes you smile. Continue to do those things that really serve yourself. Even the New York Times finally came out and said, stop trying to be productive during this time, right?
Give yourself permission to do nothing.
Yeah, that it's really okay to sit around right now and do nothing. So be good to yourself.
So it's close to, people, we generally have it about an hour. I think we officially started about an hour ago.
Yeah.
And so we want to just, we'll leave the space open, just like when folks come to a physical place, they don't just walk out the door. So we'll leave the sacred space open. But we want to just, bring it to an official close. And if those want to stay on, we call it for the after sacred space, we certainly will. But I just want to share, wrap this up with the spiritual scripture and set our blessings for the week before we leave. And so, there's a scripture that in the church they refer to, particularly, around the Sundays when there's a lot of people there. But, the church I grew up, they tell you every day, and they say, now the Bible states if you truly believe, and my mom was smiling over there, because she said with so much conviction, boy, that you trust this in your heart, like receiving Jesus alone as your Savior, declaring like Jesus is Lord, you'll be saved from judgment and be able to spend the eternity with God, right? And I'm not here to convince or convert any of that, but here's what I want to offer on that. So if the heart has the power to determine where you will spend eternity, what do you think it has, the impact it has to determine how you'll spend your right now? If the heart has the power to impact your decision of where you will spend eternity, think about the impact that it could have on you right now. And I'll just leave you with a couple of scriptures in terms of the blessing as we go out with the blessing and say, thank you for all, Lord. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your love. We thank you for all that have joined in today and contributed with their minds, bodies, and spirit. We thank you for the healing that is taking place even right now as we speak. We thank you for the permission that we're giving ourselves to be courageous and say, yes, yes, and more yes. So yes without knowing. Trusting, and as we started the song with the song with the God is that you ain't promised us all good times and all great times, but you did promise us that you'll be there to get us through it. And we thank you for being there to get us through it. And we thank you for being there in divine form through others, Lord, to help us get through it, because we don't have to do it on our own. We don't have to be by ourselves in this time or in any time. We thank you for joy, the joy that can only come from within. We thank you for peace, the peace that passes all understanding. We thank you for the ability to go out and go and face the storms, to face the emotion, face the anxiety, face the fear, face whatever it is that seems to be consuming at the moment, and know that I can face it and I can say, it is well. It is well, because one, you said it is well, and because I said it, and we both agree that it is well with my soul. And we thank you, and we praise you, and we lift you and give you all glory. Amen. And so it is.
And so it is.